All right, so your sketch is a sloppy copy. Notice I've got some samples up here. There's a sample of one that is done on the paper that was from your packet. And then all of a sudden I have a piece of sample that's done on graph paper. Well, right away when I see this sample done on graph paper, I know that this student probably made a mistake on the one in his packet, which is fine. If you make a mistake on this page in your packet, just cross it out. Go get a piece of graph paper. Draw it again. If it still looks funny and your partner sitting next to you says, that's the ugliest sketch I've ever seen, how can your bottle be that fat? It's only a tiny bottle. Cross it out, throw it away, go grab another one. You can do the sketch as many times as you want. A sketch is graded two ways. I want to make sure that you label all the parts. So ping pong ball, tube, cone, bottle, fins. And is it in proportion? Who knows what proportion means? What do you think it means? What do you think?
In scale.
In scale. What do you think scale means? What's a normal, just a normal statement for it's in scale?
The size.
The size looks right.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way. So here's a sample on the board. There's a sketch right there. And it's the same as this right here. You can't see down this end. What do you think this is? A sketch is supposed to show you something. You're going to be doing a sketch of your bottle, your entire rocket. That's supposed to show you. When somebody looks at that, there shouldn't be any question as to what that is. And I'll bet you not one of you get what that is supposed to be. What do you think it is? This?
Yes.
Nope. This thing right here.
Oh, the cone, the ping pong ball, the ball.
Could be. You're the second person that said that. If I were to put a line here, 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 and here, I could say it's the top view of a rocket looking down on it from above. But that's not what it's supposed to be. But that's good. You're only the second person. The first one was last class that said that. Because you got an engineering mind. You look at things different ways. Some people don't see anything at all. Who else? And one more guess. What do you think that is? What do you think?
Double donut.
A double donut?
Yeah.
Could be. Most people say it's a target. Right? But what if I drew this? All right. That is a snowman. But it's a snowman if you were in a helicopter looking down on it. Which is useless. Because anybody that tells me that that's a snowman, they have some problems. I'm going to be a little scared. If you tell me that's a snowman, I'm going to be scared. If you tell me that that is not a snowman, I'm going to be scared. Right? If you tell me that it's 3 bowling balls, all different sizes on top of each other, then you got some crazy thinking going on in your head. It could be, but you got some crazy, your mind thinks different than other people. My point is, it should look right. That's what it means if it's in proportion. It means that it just looks right. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's just a sloppy copy. Lines can be squiggly, lines can be wavy. If you look at this sample sketch right here, I would tell this person that that's actually too good of a sketch. They used rulers. You don't waste your time doing a sketch. It's freehand. It's sloppy copy. The lines shouldn't be perfect. I do give you graph paper to try to make it look as best as you can, but I don't want you using a ruler. A sketch is just getting your ideas down on paper. If your English teacher gives you a writing assignment, some of the first things you might do to put your ideas down on paper is to maybe make a web or some type of graphic organizer. Well, for engineers, that's what a sketch is. It's just a quick, sloppy copy, freehand ideas down on paper, but it has to look right. What if I show you this? I'm showing you this one now. What do you think that is?
The house.
Could be a house looking at it from the top. What else? Anybody else? It's kind of hard. Who knows? Could be jail cells if you're laying down in bed.
It's a can.
Could be a can. What if I show you that?
Stairs. Stairs from
Immediately. I didn't draw that very nicely, but immediately you get stairs. These would be stairs if you're looking at it walking up from the front. These would be the stairs from the side. This would be the best sketch, because most people will tell you that that's stairs. Okay? That's my point. When you're doing a sketch, you pick the best view to represent what you're trying to show. Okay? The other part is, if it's funny looking, and it's supposed to be, that's why I put a little smiley face, make sure you put a little note. Like some of you cut your tube. So I have a rocket in the last class that has a tube that just sticks up only about this much. instead of like 8 inches and only sticks up 1 inch. Well, I have to grade 120 sketches. I'm not going to remember that you cut your tube. So you should put a little note, you know, cut tube. Maybe you didn't use the yellow cut. Maybe you just glued the ping pong ball on top of the tube. Well, I'm going to think that you're missing the yellow cup. I'm going to take points off when I grade it. So anything out of the ordinary, an engineer would just put a little note on the sketch, just somewhere right here. My bottle looks small because it's a short bottle. My bottle looks huge because it's 2 liters. Right? So anything that looks funny, make sure you put a note. Or what's going to happen is I'm going to mark it wrong. You're going to ask me why it's wrong because it is what my rocket looks like. Then I'm going to have to regrade it, put it back in the computer, and give it back to you. So anything out of the ordinary, an engineer would put notes. Question? I can't hear you. Yep, anything, because what you're trying to do, and this is where it gets tricky for some people that can't visualize well. You're trying to take something that is 3-dimensional. So right now, this fin is sticking out right at him. You're taking something that's 3-dimensional, and you're trying to draw it on a flat surface. That's kind of hard to do. So what I tell kids is, pretend like you're just driving over it with a steamroller, and you're squashing it right into your paper. So if I were to take this fin and squash it into my paper, how's that going to look on a piece of paper when I'm sketching it? What do you think it's going to look like? Just a straight line. That's all it is. And these 2 fins that look like they're in the back, when I squash that in a piece of paper, they're going to come right out the side. All right? So I know it's going to be hard for some of you, but that's okay. If you make a mistake on your first sketch, you can redo your sketch. If you don't like your grade on it, you can fix your mistakes. But the first thing you're going to do, my recommendation is to start at the top of the paper. Whatever paper you're using, start right up the top. And start with the ball, or whatever you're using for a nose cone. So here I drew 3 ping pong balls. Okay? One really tiny one, because somebody's a wise guy. One that looks pretty good. And one really, really, really big one, because somebody's an overachiever. Okay? Let's say I'm doing my sketch and I start with that ball right there. Now I have to draw my cup. The minute I draw my ball that big, now my cup has to be that big in order to look right, to be in proportion. Then I have to draw my tube that big. Now I got a problem. I'm out of paper. So what can I do? I can either cross it out, go get another piece of graph paper. I can get a piece of paper, tape it to the bottom, and make my sketch huge. Right? What I would do is start over, because I obviously drew the ball too big, because everything else is sized off the ball. Now I got the wise guy in class. You. American Tante. I got the wise guy in class. Decides to draw the ball like that. So I'll get out of the way in a minute, but that means my cup's going to have to be this big, my tube that big, my cone, the drinking part, fin. There's my full sketch right there. Notice it only took me about 10 seconds to do that sketch. What would you give that for a grade, Dan?
An F.
Why would you give it an F?
So it's so small and you can't see anything.
Who cares how small it is?
You can't.
Does it have all the parts?
Yeah.
Are all the parts drawn the same size in relationship to each other? Then it's an A+. But I put a note on it that says, what kind of wise guy are you? I'm old. I need to be able to see this thing. But that's an accurate sketch. It's got all your parts and it's drawn correctly. A normal person would draw the ball kind of medium size, then put the cup right under it, then add the tube, and then add your cone. And when I'm looking at my rocket, that should take up about half of the space, maybe a little bit more than half the page. Then I draw my bottle. Then I'll draw that little angled part. Then I draw the part I drink out of. So there's my sketch. Now if you notice, this sketch would look funny, because this bottle has a really long bottom. So if I was going to grade this sketch and I didn't know that, I would probably mark it wrong. So this person that did the sketch of this should have a note on there that says my bottle is differently shaped. Otherwise I'm going to take points off. I'm going to think it looks funny. Hold your question 1 second. Now I draw my fins. One there, and then the other 2 look like they're coming out the side of the bottle. Even if I had 4 fins, That's what it's gonna look like. I would only see 3 of them, the other one would be behind it. Okay. That's a good sketch. It looks right, it's not perfect, it's a sloppy copy. I would give that probably a 19 out of 20, because I did draw it a little bit crooked. All right, you're gonna have graph paper, you should try to draw it as straight as possible, even though it doesn't have to be beautiful. But a 19 out of 20 is still a 95, it's an A. All right. It's not gonna be easy to get an A+ in here, I'm very picky when I grade. But show it to your friend. Your friend could tell you, some people do this, they have the ball here, the cup there, and the tube like that. You show that to your friend, you can say, wow, your cup looks way too big and the tube is way too small. And unless their rocket looks like that, that's a good criticism. Don't be afraid to be criticized in this class. That's what engineering is. I would say, that thing is ugly, man. Your cup is way too big. And then that person can either erase it and fix it, or grab another piece of paper, or turn it in and get the grade that you're going to get on it. It's up to you. So I don't know where you are in the process, but once you're done with the construction, that's what we got to do. Finish your construction, add your design and color, and then start completing your packet. Okay, go.